Do the juveniles return to the nest area or wander to the mainland? Yes, a lot of them do go to the mainland and water around. Some come back to the islands. We've been seeing last year's rattlesnake chick in its territory in the last few weeks. We've seen other young from previous years fly over their nests, but the adults really aren't interested in having them around after their first year. What aspect of the research are we most focused on? Right now it's primarily finding out how many eggs are laid and the outcome of the breeding attempts. So we want to make sure that the birds continue to be able to hatch their own eggs. If we start having a low success rate, then there's some other problem going on, whether they've picked up too much DDT as they age, which is still sort of a concern for us on the northern islands because it's stored in fat and there's a lot of marine mammals up there that the birds feed on. So they can get the eagles can get a lot of DDT in a short amount of time by feeding on the marine mammals. And we don't know if it's going to catch up with them or not as they age. How many eagles have survived from last year? We only know of 2 from Catalina, but we only know of 1 that's actually dead. Or maybe 2. For the northern islands, I think all 4 of those have survived. We were never really testing the eggshells for contaminants. The contaminants were actually in the contents of the egg. So that's why we were removing the eggs from the nests for hatching, and if they didn't hatch, then we would have those analyzed. But now that we're no longer collecting the eggs, we really have no way to look at the contaminant. I don't know how the bird banding lab determines what they're going to give out for letters and numbers. I haven't heard of them giving letter combinations before. I think those might be too hard to distinguish from numbers. Have there ever been premature chick births? I don't think anything that was damaged would be able to survive. They would lose the moisture that's in the egg before they were ready to hatch. And will we move the new equipment back to the new pH nest? I don't know yet. We'll probably do some upgrades on the nest they're currently on, but I'm not sure where they're going to be, so I think we're going to have to be a little bit more flexible and have cameras on a variety of nests, and then we can hook up the encoders and transmitters at the nests that they use. How many nests can we have on the Channel Islands? Really don't know a good answer for that. There was estimated to be at least 25 of them before they were wiped out. I think there was probably at least twice that many, just because I know where they nest and how difficult it is to locate them. So I think we could probably have 10 pair easily on Catalina, probably 10 to 15 on Santa Rosa, and then maybe 5 on, or 15 on Santa Cruz, maybe 5 to 10 on Santa Rosa, 5 to 10 on San Clemente, then get out to some of the other islands with maybe 1 or 2 like Anacapa, Santa Barbara, San Nicolas, and San Miguel. Do we tag on other islands besides Catalina? We tag all of the Channel Islands birds. So Catalina, Santa Cruz, Santa Rosa, and Anacapa are where we've tagged so far. The untagged UVs are most likely coming from the Central California or Santa Barbara area population. I don't think we've been missing nests on the islands. And the female stops laying eggs probably when she dies. They just keep laying until they die. They don't, I don't know of any that just stop and then keep being around. Will the parents dispose of the eggshells? Sometimes they drop them off the side of the nest, but most often they probably just get put on the side and crunched and broken and get in with the nesting material. How many pairs are in the U.S.? I think we're up in the 11,000 pairs in the lower 48 states. Oh, I'm waiting for a question just for size reference. This is a GPS transmitter. It weighs about 70 grams, and weighs about 70 grams and really doesn't cause any problems with the birds. We've never had any problem with them. And in comparison, this is one of our VHF transmitters. They weigh about 30 grams. I don't know where this camera works. And they just give out a steady beep, about 1 pulse per second. Whereas the GPS, we can go online and actually get hourly data from the birds. And then looking at the wing markers, they've got 2 different sizes on each side. So we put the larger portion on the under portion of the wing and the smaller one on top so that we can see it when it's perched. This gets folded over the front end of the wing. And then we basically put this through the potassium with a small stud that keeps it folded over. So what you're seeing on the male at the west end is that this portion of the tag has broken off, but it's still over the front edge of the wing and with the lower portion of the tag still there. Okay, well, while we're still waiting for it to be unpaused for questions, these are the leg bands. We get strings of 50 at a time. They're put on the bird with a pop rivet because they're so strong that they can actually open it up with their beaks. So it's actually pop riveted onto their leg. It's a pretty permanent leg band with an ID number and a phone number to call if you find the band, hopefully on the bird still, so that you report that to the bird banding lab and they're able to, they look up where the bird was banded, send us information on a sighting of our bird, and also send the reporter information and I believe a certificate for reporting the finding. So how long will they have the cams on the nest? We leave them there year round, so we do take them offline sometimes in the fall to do some renovations, but besides that, we try to keep them going 24/7. How old was I? I wanted to be a veterinarian when I was in elementary school. I'm not sure exactly where I switched into the biology, ecology. Probably when I began my undergraduate and had to come up with a field that I wanted to do. I think I wanted to work with the whole animal instead of doing surgeries. I prefer the behavioral aspect of the work. Any locations on K05? I don't think we have any new sightings of that bird. Lead poisoning isn't generally a problem on the Channel Islands. Catalina, where they've been doing hunting for quite a while, requires non-lead ammunition for the deer hunts. They were using lead ammunition on Santa Rosa for the deer and elk hunts, but they switched that to non-lead in 2007, and then there's not going to be any more hunting now. They've been removing the last of the deer and elk off of that island, so we generally don't have a lead problem here. Unusual find in an eagle's nest. I found a homing pigeon one time, so I reported the band to the owner, but they had caught a homing pigeon somehow. Don't think the mercury is actually weakening the shells. I'm not sure of the actual role that it plays, but it is a significant impact on birds, especially around the Great Lakes area. But it doesn't behave the same way as the DDT in making the eggshells weaker, I don't think. I haven't really done a lot of studying on the mercury. Are there differences between the eagle pairs on the West Coast and elsewhere? Our birds don't migrate from this area, so that's probably one difference compared to birds in the more northern latitudes. They also have a much nicer weather pattern here, so it never gets too cold. Actually, being along the coast, it never gets that hot either, so they have pretty nice temperatures, a nice year-round food supply, so they don't really need to leave out of their territory in the off-season. If you do find a nest, an eagle nest, I would report it to California Fish and Game or the whichever fish and game you're in your state. They are interested in the locations of new nests. DDT is the primary factor that led to the population declines, both on the Channel Islands and throughout the lower 48. I assume the population is on the way back. Yes, it is. They were completely taken off the endangered species list. For the transmitters, we've been using the GPS transmitters up on the northern Channel Islands and the VHF transmitters on Catalina. The GPS transmitters cost about $4,000 a piece and $1,500 a year for the data. So this season we're going to actually be switching to the VHF transmitters for the northern Channel Islands once we use the last few GPS transmitters that we have. Let's see, fishing lure and line issues. That is an issue. We've got a lot of boats that come over with fishermen, and the fish will break the line but still have it in a hook and line attached to them. I've had to remove chicks from the nest that had the line wrapped around their necks and legs. We've had at least one adult die by getting a fishing lure in its mouth and then getting wrapped up in the fishing line. So that is an issue, and caught, and then they get pulled to the boat and cut the line and off they go. And we're actually still working on the cameras too. We still haven't got our faster T1 line. Largely the camera continuations. I'd like to continue in that phase of our monitoring starting next year. I may be able to hire another biologist or two for the nesting season. I think in the next phase we will continue the banding and wing markers so that we're able to know which birds came from the islands. We just might not have as much time for searching for nests due to lack of personnel. We will not be bringing any more birds to the islands through fostering or hacking. I expect there to be some natural immigration into the population from the Central California area. The first eggs, I think, should hatch either tomorrow or Wednesday. And I guess there's a question about the banding process. We go into the nest when the chicks are about 8 weeks old. At that age, they're pretty much full grown, so we're able to put the wing markers and the backpack transmitters on them, and they won't get much bigger and outgrow the straps. The backpacks are put on so that there's the 4 straps is worn like a backpack. 4 straps are tied together at the sternum, stitched together with some cotton embroidery thread, and they're designed to basically fall off the bird hopefully in 1 to 3 years, so that they don't have to carry around the transmitter after the transmitter no longer functions. They also get a permanent leg band, which I was showing you earlier. They get wing tags, orange for Catalina and blue for the northern Channel Islands. And we take blood to 1 to 8 to sex them. Actually pretty hard to tell males from females at that age. And then we also have a sample for genetics if we want to do something looking at the population in the future.